Gentle parenting, love it or hate it?
Love it because kids are gaining more skills faster, and it's very exciting to see how those kids are going to grow up and what world they're going to create.
So why do I see so many negative things on gentle parenting?
Parents don't feel comfortable not being in control, and when a child seems like they're in control, it is uncomfortable, both to that parent and to other people watching. Essentially, that's why people don't like gentle parenting. It looks bad while it's happening, and you have to work through the process.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by Mackenzie Price. Mackenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
My guest today is a powerhouse on Instagram. Her name is Natalia, and she's got over 1 million followers on her account, CREATE Kids Edu. In fact, she is so big, I am nervous and stressed. I'm like very concerned about talking to her, and so I'm gonna hum a little bit. Why am I humming when I'm nervous? Can you tell me about that, Natalia?
So humming is actually a trick that you can use to stimulate your vagal nerve. It's one of the things that we teach at CREATE in our body-based mental health programming.
I learned about it on your Instagram. Who says social media is bad, right? Sometimes it can be really helpful because I didn't even know about the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
And then I learned about it from you.
Yeah.
So tell me more about what you do. What is the goal of your account and how you're helping kids?
So CREATE started about 3 years ago, and we are a charity focused on mental health, but particularly body education, specifically how your feelings show up in the body.
Wow.
And the reason why we do that is because a lot of kids, adults as well, don't understand how their body's automatically reacting to their feelings.
No, we totally don't. I mean, I think about it all the time when I'll be like, all of a sudden notice that I'm like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? Let me just relax a little bit. And I think we often don't check in enough. Is that kind of where
exactly.
you go?
So there's a lot more research these days over the last 10 years that shows how much the body retains in terms of stress and trauma. And essentially what we're learning is that if you don't get rid of the automatic reactions through things like humming or squeezing your hands when you're angry, and essentially helping the body finish that automatic reaction, that it gets stored.
Okay.
And so the next time you're angry, the next time you're stressed, you automatically squeeze, or you automatically can't control your anger. And because there's a lot of retained stress in your body that are coming up because of similar situations that have made you sad or angry.
So let me ask you a question. When I am stressed, there is a full giveaway, and my husband always knows, and it's that I will do this huge just and it's like the sighing. And it's funny because I won't even realize I'm doing it. And so it's my husband will say, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. And I remember when I was in 2nd grade, my teacher used to always notice that. And I've stayed friends with my teacher for all those years. And she would say, I'll never forget at school, you'd be sighing, and she'd say, Mackenzie, what's the matter? What's going on? And I had divorced parents. And so it was on the days when I'd go to my dad's house that I'd say, pizza and ice cream for dinner again. That's all we ever eat when I'm at my dad's house. And she tells that story. But she's like, you were hurting and you were very sad about that. And I think that's like this physical thing that I've taken with me through my life. So what am I doing there? What's happening with my body when I'm doing that?
So a yawn and what you're doing is basically like releasing. It's a part of your nervous system trying to cope. It's calming you down. You'll actually notice that a lot when you're stimulating the vagal nerve.
Okay.
When you see a yawn happen, you actually reached the parasympathetic part. So your body actually started that calming automatic reaction. So there's two different parts of the nervous system, and essentially the calming part, the parasympathetic, is what the yawning and what you were doing.
Now, why are yawns contagious?
That one I don't exactly
Because
know.
I feel like even you just saying the word yawn, I'm like, I can feel a yawn kind of coming at me. So take me back a little bit more, because you said this is a charitable organization. You started 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
How did this come up, and who are the people that you serve? I know social media is obviously huge. Are you doing stuff? Is it mostly an online audience that you're serving? Are you helping people? We're here in Miami.
Yeah.
We're actually bringing Future of Education on the road. I think this is the first podcast that we've ever done on the road. So yes, I forgot. That was awesome.
So special.
Thanks for being my guest in Miami. I totally forgot. That's a fun thing to do. We're actually in a very different environment too. We're in a gym.
Yeah.
But probably physicality is part of what it is. So how did you get started, and who do you serve?
So physicality is literally all that we do. And we're actually in a very special place and really specific to our charity, because we have a basketball program that teaches all these skills to kids. We essentially go through each part of the body, the hands, the feet, the humming, all of that good stuff. And we actually get supported by the Overtown Youth Center. And we have filmed a lot of our basketball tutorial videos here.
Right here.
Right here.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
So we teach kids here in Miami-Dade County in public schools and after-school programs, and essentially things that I can teach you one skill right now if you want.
Yes, let me hear.
Cool. So when you're angry,
yes.
You automatically ball your hands, and that is a nervous system reaction from caveman times. You cannot avoid it. It's how we make sure that we can do what we need to do to be safe and get going.
Ready to go.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, so obviously we're not living in as dangerous times, and so we can get rid of that automatic reaction by squeezing our hands as hard as possible. That completes the nervous system reaction, and your brain actually starts working better. The logical half starts working better once you complete it.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I feel myself starting to get angry,
you can actually squeeze your hands, without, having a person notice. Yeah, and I'll teach you a second one that's hands-based. So essentially, when you're angry and you can't think that well, it's essentially our emotional part of our body overloading us. You can actually force your brain into the logical half using your hands.
Okay, how do I do that?
Basically, you use your non-dominant hand to do stuff. And essentially, you cannot think clearly and be emotional at the same time. And so you are overriding and focusing by
doing something with my non-dominant hand. Suddenly I have to focus on that, and it'll take it away from this. Well, this is such important skills for kids to learn. I think humans in general, we're not in touch enough with our physical bodies, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed. We haven't been taught those things. Yeah. And that's such an important thing to teach young kids. What's the advice you give to parents around how they can help their kids with this?
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot, and it's very important, especially with parents with younger kids, because we're dealing with tantrums and we're dealing with behavior. And essentially, when we look at body-based reactions, the body symptoms are what makes the child not be able to get out of the tantrum and the behavior faster. And so even when we look at things like depression, anxiety in teens, the body symptoms are what kids complain about the most. It's actually the body symptoms that drives kids to suicide more.
Like what? What are examples of
It's
that?
a lot of the physical heaviness, the wanting to run away feeling, which you can dispel through walking and jogging and being physical.
Wow.
There's a lot of different natural physiological reactions to emotions that even just the awareness. So I've gotten a lot of people just like you that say, when I knew that this was just from me feeling anxious, like I stopped thinking I was crazy. And that that in itself helped me relax a little bit more, understand and think a little bit better, right? And so just the awareness itself of like connecting, this is a body reaction to me feeling badly, and it's gonna go away, or this is what I can do to get rid of it. Essentially, as soon as the awareness happens, you have a choice.
Yeah. Do you think that, medicating kids has become such a big thing? Do you think that we've over-medicated instead of helping people figure out how to kind of manage these bodily feelings that they're feeling that are related to emotional connection?
There's a lot of that, and that conversation is so controversial.
It's so controversial.
Yes, but of course we do talk about a lot of natural outlets, especially for younger boys in particular.
Tell me about some of those.
Overprescribe certain things that have to do with them just being young and having a lot of energy.
We're talking about ADD and ADHD. That's so quick. So, we often get families who come to my schools And they're saying, okay, my kid's got behavioral issues in the classroom. They have ADD, they have ADHD, they have all these challenges going on. And what we always kind of say there is like, bring those kids in, because we often find that if we can help them manage their environment better, then they are so much more focused, right? And so sometimes that means that if you're doing your work, you're standing or you're sitting on a couch, or we do tons of movement breaks, all those types of things that are helpful. And I think, unfortunately, traditional schools don't really have a lot of room to say, hey, let me help a kid who struggles in this certain way. And it's very rare that we find that we have a challenge that we can't overcome with motivational connection or just making some sort of personalization.
Those types of unique ways to teach a child, I think, are the future, especially because you're keeping them engaged and you're speaking about things in terms of their own language, but you're kind of broadening it out. I think that's the future of education. I see so many great applications of that. And then, of course, indoor, outdoor, a lot of physical additions I think are important, because I mean the issue with screens is so dramatic. It's impacting kids so much that essentially, like when we're talking about focus, right? If there is more control over, no screens in schools, for example, not screens in general. I mean, like social media, like control to social media, not really like, educational programs on screens, because it's bad to demonize the entire thing.
Well,
right?
That's what I always say. No, the screen time is not all equal,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
But
exactly.
doom scrolling TikTok and like just watching hours of YouTube videos is different than, what like we do all of our education, right? With,
of course.
On a computer, for that time. But so I totally get your point.
Yeah, so essentially it is social media, and it is more of the things that have to do with kind of comparison and things like that rob a child of being young and innocent in certain ways, and kind of forces them to learn a little bit faster than they would otherwise, or maybe compare themselves a little bit faster than they would otherwise. But really those two things I think are kind of the future, kind of customization of curriculums, a lot more physicality and awareness of how the body essentially is interrupting classroom time, or stopping a child from studying or being able to focus at home, right? Like these particular things I think are just beginning.
Yeah, well, and being able to learn, having that awareness of, okay, I'm starting to get ramped up or angry or frustrated or sad. I think being able to teach kids, okay, you're starting to feel that feeling. Here's how your body may feel as you're doing those things, and here's what you can do in order to kind of satiate that challenge or what it is. And that's such an important thing to start teaching kids early, right? Like we're talking probably 2-3 years old. That's at least when I was working with my kids on it, because about 2 was when you were starting to see those tantrums, but you could actually kind of say like, okay, here's what we're gonna do to calm down.
Yeah, we've actually seen, I'm so proud. I've gotten video from a parent that with a 3-year-old girl that is tantruming and squeezes her hands and calms herself down.
My daughter, who's now 19 years old, but we always have laughed because ever since from the time she was 1.5 years old until even now, if she gets upset, she does the classic tantrum thing of she'll bunch her hands up and stomp her foot on the ground, and she's like this, and we're like, oh boy, and I mean, even like probably in the last year she'd be like, oh, I was so frustrated, and we're like, okay, what do you got there? But it's just like a caricature of what a kid or what a person is upset about. But she does ball her hands up, and then it tends to go away pretty well. So gentle parenting has become this huge thing. And you see it all, and actually I often see some very funny videos online that are sort of making fun of gentle parenting. But then you also see some kind of alarming things. I saw a video the other day of a little girl that was destroying a grocery store, literally throwing things all over the floor. And the mom was saying, don't yell at her, don't touch her. This is part of her feelings. And of course, people are videoing, and the employees are like, you're literally damaging the store. On that, there's a challenge there. What's your advice to parents when they're trying to navigate this idea of gentle parenting that people are hearing about, and more kind of authoritarian parenting, which is what I grew up with.
Sure.
Or not grew up with. It's kind of what I'm more. Is it authoritarian or authoritative?
Authoritative.
Authoritative. That I'm not an authoritarian parent. That's a bad kind of parenting.
Yeah.
Authoritative. So what's the advice you give to parents who are trying to navigate that?
So gentle parenting, it needs a rebrand, essentially because it gets so confused. So a parent that is just letting their child destroy anything is not gentle parenting. Gentle parenting essentially is just making sure that the child is, you're respecting and understanding the child's feelings, but also what is creating the feelings. And you're addressing the symptoms and the causes, not just policing the behavior. And you're trying to guide a child through. And so there is a lot of great funny videos about it. And it is something that's hard to do. I mean, parenting is incredibly hard. I don't think that there is one correct way or one easy way to do it. I think different circumstances require different reactions, right? So you can't gentle parent when a child is playing close to a street. There's certain situations in which you do need to put your foot down and be a little bit stronger in your tone, but always be aware of the causes and the long-term repercussions of your behavior as a parent. And that's really what gentle parenting is. I think that in order to make a really funny reel, you might exaggerate that. Or people really, it's hard. You mess up sometimes, I mean, a child you love them so much and they're so cute when they're, even when they're pouting and they're acting bad that, you might give them a little extra leeway than you probably should. But it's something that as a generation, we are learning and becoming so much better at. I mean, it's so impressive to see these kids at younger and younger ages being aware and teaching. I mean, like we have a reel coming up today of just how powerful it is to see a 4-year-old teaching a 2-year-old how to calm down.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exact verbal process that their parent is learning at, 30 something years old. And it's so amazing to see and the potential of what that is. And it only can come from gentle parenting because essentially a lot of the older generations look at parenting like a child should be quiet and sit and be controlled. And those things don't give a child the right skills to succeed, especially when they're faced with those types of strong feelings again.
That wraps up part 1 of this episode, but don't worry, there's a part 2 coming soon. Thanks for listening to Mackenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with Mackenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts.